Hello everyone, welcome back. It's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, I am now back from my chaotic summer of travelling. I got back at 2 o'clock in the morning this morning. Yeah, so it's been a busy month. A lot has happened, as you can see by my background. It's quite different from how it was. And this was an accident, but actually I feel like this is quite a good representation of my summer. Just very chaotic. But no, I have not moved house. This is where I normally film my videos. I'm just sitting on my bed in my bedroom. But yeah, we are currently redecorating the bedroom, and yeah, the lights, that was a spontaneous decision, and I do still have the back tapestry that will go back on this wall because the purple kind of matches the colours that are in the tapestry, but it's just because it's made out of fabric, it takes a lot of effort to put it back up when it needs to come down again because we haven't finished painting this wall, and it was just easier to just stick these paper artworks up, and a lot of them are new from this summer. And I know that this is kind of a weird situation on the wall, and it's a bit of a mess, but I've got to say I kind of love it. It was a completely spontaneous decision. These lights, I know they're like Christmas lights and it's August, I do know it's not the right time of year. I didn't know that they were this vibrant in the box. On the packaging they looked, the colours didn't look as Christmassy as they do now, flashing on the wall. So a lot has happened this summer. I have, yeah, like I said, just got back from my last holiday of the year, like abroad, and I go back to work on Monday in 2 days' time, which I am absolutely dreading. I do not want to go back to work, but I've had like a month off, you know, I have no right to complain. And a lot has happened. I have travelled so much, to the point where I know that that's definitely not something I want to do a lot, you know. Like, I always thought maybe I could be like a digital nomad one day and just, you know, just keep travelling. No, I definitely don't want to do that. I've had more than enough travel to last me a few months within the last month. Okay, so let's try this again. I just filmed a whole section and then my computer did something weird and deleted the file for some reason. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you about my summer, about what I did. So we've actually had a really hot summer here in Selfoss, and the day before we left for our first trip it was 25 degrees, which I have never experienced that heat here. And it was also the festival in Selfoss, which, like the music festival that we have, and we went during the day just to look around the stalls, and we had like a British fun fair, which was really strange to see downtown. But yeah, it was just too hot for me to be outside. It was unbearably hot. And then we flew to Manchester and we stayed a night in Sale in Manchester, which I haven't been to for many years, but my great aunt and uncle used to live in Sale, so I used to stay with them sometimes. And we stayed in this really lovely old manor house that was converted into a hotel. Can't remember the name of it, but I'll have it written somewhere. And it needed renovating, like parts of it were a little bit derelict, but it was a lovely place. The staff were lovely, and when we got there the weather was really hot. We went for a walk to go and get some food, came back and decided to eat in the garden. As soon as we got to the garden it started raining, so we ran to the smoking shelter, and then we found ourselves in a thunderstorm and there was thunder and lightning. And it was a really nice experience actually, being out in the thunderstorm, because we don't really get thunder in Iceland, and I do actually like storms. And then it was quite strange as we were walking back to go inside the hotel when the rain had eased up a bit. So it was kind of like autumn there, like a lot of the leaves were falling from the trees and going brown. And as we came around the corner to go into the hotel entrance, there was like wind had picked up the leaves and they were like just swirling around in the air, and it was just it was beautiful, and I've never really seen anything like that before. And our room, oh my god, it was decent size, and the bathroom was huge, but it was just beautiful. We had like stained glass windows, and I think it was a bay window, I can't quite remember, it might not have been. And you could just see trees out of the window, and then we could just see the lightning, and it was just a wonderful night, and we really wanted to stay there another night. But of course we had to go to Whitby, and I was so excited to go because Whitby is my favourite place in the UK. It is where I was planning to move to originally before Iceland happened. And I actually haven't been to Whitby since before my first trip to Iceland, so it's been many years, and I have desperately wanted to go for pretty much the whole time. Had a few plans to go, but it's too expensive and too complicated because it is really difficult to get there. Even from Birmingham, if you don't have a car, it is quite difficult to get to Whitby because it's quite secluded in the Yorkshire Moors, North Yorkshire Moors, and getting there was an adventure. So the first time I went to Whitby when I was 18, I took 2 coaches, one from Birmingham to Leeds and then one from there to Whitby with National Express. And so I booked it through National Express because Whitby is still listed as a stop, and it was going to be 2 coaches again, one from Manchester Airport to Leeds and then from Leeds to Whitby. A few days before we were travelling, National Express emailed me and said that there's been a change in schedule and now I have to take 3 coaches to Whitby, which is fine. So first coach from Manchester Airport to Leeds was okay. Then we found out that it wasn't going to be a coach, it was going to be just a regular bus taking us to the next coach or bus, we weren't sure at this point. And we were camping and we had a massive suitcase with us and quite a lot of cases because we had all of our camping equipment as well as our clothes and space for things we wanted to buy. And yeah, it was just a regular bus, so there's no place to store it. So we had to sit in the priority seats, which I felt very guilty about. And it turned out that we were actually going to take 4 buses because the 3rd bus just randomly stopped in a town called Moulton, and the driver said, everyone has to get off, I'm not going any further, and then we had to get onto another bus. So 4 buses, well 1 coach and 3 regular buses to Whitby. Never want to do that again. Hated it. Especially with all the luggage. If we just had hand luggage it would be okay, and normally I do just travel with hand luggage, but because we had all of our camping equipment with us we had big case as well. But we did meet a really lovely woman on the bus, on the last bus. And she kind of gave us like a guided tour of all the towns we were driving through and through the North Yorkshire Moors, and she just gave us recommendations of what to do. We didn't get a name, but we did see her again the day before we left, just in the street, and we were talking to her again. And it turns out she's a nun in Whitby. She's not from Whitby originally, but she has lived there for a long time now, and her name is Sister Angela. She was so sweet, and we know what convent she lives in, so we're going to send her a postcard from Iceland, and we hope to see her again in the future, because she was just an incredibly lovely, kind woman. And then we had our trip to Whitby, finally, after so many years. It was wonderful. I was so happy. So we did the first 3 nights camping, because there is a campsite right in town, which I never knew about. It's like the town centre, there's a campsite there. So we did 3 nights there to save some money, and then we did 2 nights in an Airbnb. And out of the Airbnb window, the bedroom window, we had a direct view of Whitby Abbey, and it was a really nice Airbnb as well. And we were going to book into a hotel that was quite cheap, very cheap, that was showing availability, and I had to email them because I couldn't book it for some reason, and they said there was a mistake in the system and it wasn't available for the dates that we were there. And it turns out that this Airbnb that we ended up booking was right next door to that hotel. It was like the next door neighbour. But it was much nicer than the hotel. And yeah, it was just, oh my god, it was so nice to be there. I wish we were there longer. I still want to be there now. Yeah, I love Whitby. I thought after all these years maybe the feeling of like wanting to move there would have gone away. it hasn't. Obviously I'm not leaving Iceland, I really love my life in Iceland, but I could still happily move to Whitby. I think nothing has changed. I feel really at home there, but I also feel really at home in Iceland, so you know, it's a strange feeling but a nice feeling. And we did meet some people, we made some connections there, and yeah, we just enjoyed our time. And we even had a day where we both went and did our own things, and I went to my favourite cafe to get the panini that I've been craving for the last like 7 or 8 years, or however long it's been since I was in Whitby. And it was lucky that I did, because I saw last week that they actually sold the cafe last week to new owners. So it was one of the last weeks that I could have got the panini. Well, I think they've kept the menu, but yeah, it's not being made by the same people anymore. And yeah, and I just felt so calm, and I got lots of videos of like the sea. I just felt really at peace. I remember there was one morning in particular, we got up early and went to not the main beach, but the beach by the harbour, and there was almost no one on the beach. It was just calm sea, blue skies. It was really hot in Whitby as well, despite the rest of the country having like really heavy rain. We had really good weather in North Yorkshire, we were lucky for that week. Yeah, it was just completely calm, so peaceful, and I just felt very happy and very at peace, and it was just pure bliss. And Sigurjón, he absolutely adored Whitby Abbey. He went there a lot. Well, we both went there a couple of times, but he went there also on his free day alone and had lunch there. And it was just a really nice holiday, and it was so nice to go to the UK but not be visiting people and not have a course book like when we went to London, you know, just to go and enjoy our time. It was just beautiful, lovely holiday. And then we came back to Iceland, and I was here for 3 days before I flew out again by myself to Birmingham. And the reason that I came back to Iceland was because we had booked the trip to Whitby first. Didn't think I had enough money to go to Birmingham, and then kind of knew that I'd regret it if I didn't go to Birmingham in my summer holiday, so then I booked the flights. So yeah, that was it was interesting, like coming back from England and then flying back to England a few days later, and I actually got to see pretty much everyone, and it was nice. I even went to visit a friend in Shropshire, which is almost Wales. So I did a lot of travelling in that trip as well, but the weather was terrible, raining the whole time, and the weather in Iceland has been lovely. Then I came back to Iceland for a week, for 7 days, and a few days after I got back, I tested positive for COVID for the 3rd time in a year, and I was pretty sick as well, again. I don't know what's happening. I am so annoyed that I keep getting it, and I was ill. And because my boyfriend was working and we had another trip planned that, you know, we were going to see his family, so we really wanted to go. We did keep separate, and I was sleeping in the living room and he was sleeping in the bedroom because he needed to rest well because he had work, you know, these days, and I was home anyway. Yeah, and luckily the day before we were due to fly out, I tested positive that morning. Tested negative that morning. So we managed to fly out, and yeah, we went to Denmark for a week to stay with his brother and sister-in-law, and there was a lot of other family members there too, because it was a big birthday party, and I had a really nice time. It was my first time in Denmark. I also had a friend from Copenhagen drive down to where we were in Jutland to take us to the zoo near where we were staying, and it was really, really nice to catch up because I haven't seen him for 3 years, and it was just a really nice trip. And Denmark kind of reminds me, it's like halfway between England and Iceland. When I was landing in the plane, it kind of has like the patchwork fields like England, but not as many. And yeah, it kind of looks a bit like England, but obviously the language is kind of similar to Icelandic, and culturally, you know, it's still Scandinavian culture. So yeah, it's quite interesting because it's like a blend of both in my head. But it was really nice, and I really enjoyed it there, and I would definitely like to go back to Denmark and spend more time in Denmark. But yeah, so those were the trips this year, and yeah, catching COVID. Just cannot believe it again. And that was like my only week really in Iceland in my whole summer trip, and I was just home the whole time. And I was panicking because I had stuff to do as well. And yeah, so our bedroom that week was we were planning to paint and redecorate, because when we moved into this apartment, I mean, everything was already, didn't need painting, it was fine, but also a lot of the furniture was left behind, so we have still the wardrobes and the bedside tables and things that were from the previous owners, and it still kind of feels to me like I'm renting, because, you know, because I don't have any control over what's in here, the furniture's already here, and yeah, so I said we need to do something, we need to paint, and left it up to Sirion to choose what colour we paint, and he chose this lovely dark purple colour. It's not showing up like the true colour on the camera, but it is like a nice deep purple. And we're actually painting all 4 walls this colour, very dark, which some people, I'm sure some people will be angry about that and tell us we're making a mistake, but I quite like it, and so does Sirion, and it's our house, so that's all that matters. And the ceiling is going to be midnight blue. But yeah, I painted 2 walls the day before I tested positive for COVID. Started to feel sick that night, and then just couldn't do any more. And that's a bit of an issue because we don't really have time to do it when we go back to work. Well, Sirion has another couple of weeks off, but I'm going back to work in 2 days. And yeah, I'll show you actually how it's gone. So we've got these 2 walls are painted, and then that's where it ends. So, yeah, and over there as well. Yeah, so so it's a bit of an issue at the moment with yeah, decorating, but it will get done eventually. And what we're planning to do is have something stenciled on this wall in silver, which will be really nice. And yes, we'll put the back tapestry back up. It won't be all of these pictures. I'm going to show you these pictures properly actually. So these 2 I already owned, they were on the wardrobe opposite. But these are by an artist in Ireland called Majuku, is the business name. And she was having a sale a month ago of like old stock and things that are slightly damaged, and I bought these 3 prints off her from that, and they're really nice. So she does a lot of things that are houseplant themed, and I quite like these vegetable prints. It's a bit different from what she normally does, but I bought like a huge package from her, and she put in loads of free gifts. And then this Whitby print, we wanted to get this on a cushion, but they weren't selling just the pillowcase, you had to buy the cushion with it, and we didn't have space. But then I found the print and I was so happy that I did, because I really like it. So it's from a shop that I think was called the Whitby shop, and it was just all Whitby souvenirs. And I think the artist is called Matt Cockayne. But yeah, it's got there was pictures of the top of the steps in different times. So there was like one in the snow, there was this one at night time, there was one at sunset, and just one in the daytime. But I love this nighttime scene, and it's one of my favourite views in Whitby, and I just really wanted something to, I don't know, just Whitby makes me happy. And my old job before I moved to Iceland, I had a postcard of Whitby on my workbench, and it was like my motivation to carry on working, so I felt like I needed something like that again, and this is perfect. So I'm going to find a place for that, because none of this is going to stay here permanently. But yeah, so that was the travelling that I did. And then I'm going to show you, oh yeah, I have something I forgot. In Whitby we got a customised tile made. So there is a woman who has been there for many years. I've never actually been to her little shop down a side alley, but for many years she's been a ceramic artist, and you can get custom things made or just buy one of the ready-made things. And she would have these tiles that you can just have custom made, and so we got one made So I ordered a tile. She said it probably won't be done before we leave, but she did get it done the day before we left. But it is quite funny because there's a mistake on it, which it makes it more unique for us, so it's not a problem. But when we went to pick it up, she did seem quite eager just to like give it to us and make us go away, and then I realised why. So it's a lovely tile based on one of the designs that she already had there, but it's got our names, Lauren and Sirion, and then where it's meant to say joined together in friendship, united forever in love, it actually says joined together there in friendship, united forever in love. But yeah, I thought this was a really nice just souvenir of our first trip to Whitby together, because we both want to go back, so it'll be the first of many, hopefully. And yeah, it's just a terracotta tile, and I don't know where I'm going to put it because, you know, earthquakes here. We don't have that many, but it's still a concern. And I was hoping there was going to be like a hook or something on the back, but there isn't. So if you have any ideas of how I can safely display this, please let me know in the comments below, because I really want to put this up somewhere. And then yeah, while I've been off work, I have been getting into a new hobby, just drawing. I just felt like I needed to do something creative one of the nights, and Sirion just suggested loads of things. He was like, do you want to knit? And I was like, no. Do you want to crochet? No. Do you want to paint? No. And these are things that I normally love to do. And then he said, do you want to draw? And I was like, yeah, I do actually, and I don't really draw. So I did a few like fine liner tutorials from YouTube, and then just out of nowhere came up with my own picture, an autumn scene. This is what I drew just in one evening, one day. I don't know if you can see there's little gnomes just scattered about as well. There's a few of them on here. So yeah, that's a drawing that I did a few weeks ago, just out of nowhere, and I absolutely love it. And some people have suggested that I get prints made of it, so I'm thinking about doing that, and I might put them in my coffee shop if anyone is interested. And then another one that I am working on that I haven't finished yet is this one, which also has some gnomes dotted about. Yeah. Yeah, so it's another like autumn themed one. So yeah, if there's any interest in prints of these being made, let me know, because I'm looking into it, and yeah, I will see what I can do. But yeah, so that has been the summer. I just wanted to give you an update of what I've been doing, really. And I know it's not very Iceland themed this week, I'm sorry about that. Oh yeah, and quickly, before we went, our vegetable bed was doing okay, but now that we came back, it has suddenly just exploded in the week that we've been gone, and we have loads of salad, and our peas are suddenly growing really well, and our flower bed, oh my god, our flower bed is really just exploded basically. There's flowers more than can fit in the bed. It is really nice. Yeah, so that's life at the moment. I will be resuming to regular Iceland content hopefully next week, maybe the week after, and the next video will be about pet ownership in Iceland, which is an interesting topic to dive into. So what gave me the idea was one of you commented a while ago asking if pets are common in Iceland. I can't remember what the question was, and I can't remember who asked it. I'm very sorry. Yeah, but just ask something about pets in Iceland, and that is, surprisingly, that is a very complex subject, and that deserves its own video, so I'm making a video on that, and that will be uploaded next week, probably the week after. We'll see how it goes with time. Yeah, but that is it for me today. I want to say thank you to the anonymous person who donated 5 coffees to me about a month ago. I know who you are, but you chose to remain anonymous on coffee, so thank you ever so much for that. Thank you also for Victoria Waters, as ever, for being a monthly subscriber. If you would like to donate to my channel, the link will be in the description below. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a lovely week. Bye!